Overloads, rotations, inverted wingbacks, high intensity. These are some of the elements of AngeBall and this unstoppable tactic. We're going to break down what AngeBall is and find out how good this tactic is. We'll be putting it to test at Tottenham Hotspur and Brisbane Roar. A big thank you to Phillips for being the latest Patreon member. The link is in the description if you want to find out ways you can support the channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be breaking down AngeBall, the new Tottenham Hotspur manager. Now, if you haven't noticed, I have taken down my Arsenal t-shirt and my Arsenal decorations. I mean, I've got to show some respect to any Tottenham fans watching this because, of course, I want some Tottenham fans watching this video precisely. So what we are going to be doing is breaking down the AngeBall tactic, what it is in real life, and how we can apply it in Football Manager for Tottenham Hotspur and Brisbane Roar, of course, one of his ex-clubs. We'll also be doing things a little bit differently, so we are going to be looking at analysis and Football Manager at the same time. So we will be switching screens. Make sure you don't skip the video and miss any important information. So it is the 4-3-3 that we are going to be looking at. It's the 4-3-3 that I mean, every time I've watched an Ange team, he has used a 4-3-3. I believe way back he has used a three at the back system. Tottenham are kind of used to a three back system, so there is a slight possibility he starts with that, but my guess, he is going to go straight into the 4-3-3. So there is something very common about Ange's tactics, and that is wingers like to stay very wide in front of a fluid midfield three, with fullbacks often making underlapping runs to add extra bodies in the central channel. The midfielders either drop to encourage a fullback to attack or pushed up close to the striker to provide an extra goal threat. Now, this is an area that I believe may have to slightly tweak because of the personnel. So in Football Manager, you guessed it, we are going to be using a 4-3-3, and my prediction, or I'm guessing, the front three would be Son up on the left-hand side, Kane in the middle, and then on the right-hand side, we got Dejan Kulusevski. Now, the reason why I believe there might be a slight tweak to this system is slightly because, or mainly because of the Son and Kane relationship is a very good relationship, and there is possibly, you want these two in close proximity, and that enables them to create an overload with the left-sided central midfielder, but also the wing back, but also some movement rotations as well, because as we know, Kane likes to drop deep a lot. So straight away, we are going to go with Kane as a centre forward on support. And we also know that Son likes to come inside. It is possible that if you are creating a Celtic tactic, you might want to use wingers. For me, I'm actually not going to use wingers, though they do stay wide majority of the time. One reason why is because they like to whip in crosses, but again, when we break down the tactic, you will kind of get the idea and the gist to it. So with Son, we are going to be using an inside forward on attack, and we want some nice link-up play with Kane and Son. But we have slightly disrupted the system here, because now we aren't using a winger staying wide, we're making a winger come inside and playing close to Kane. This is where a slight tweak for me has to come in, and this allows the wing back to attack heavily on the left-hand side. But also, it is favoured for the personnel as well. So when you're looking at the Tottenham left-backs now, there is Ben Davies, who I believe can actually play that inverted role. Maybe if they want to build up in the back three, they could use Ben Davies on the left-hand side. But I did actually go for the left-back, Destiny. That's his name, Destiny. Now, in real life, he's more of an attacking fullback, someone that likes to attack down the left-hand side, make some overlapping runs rather than underlapping runs. I believe that there will be a slight tweak in this area here, and we will go for a wing-back on the left-hand side, and now he's going to keep our width on the left-hand side. We want Son to come inside and link up with Kane. So the aim of using those wide wingers is to create space in the inside channels for a fullback or a central midfielder to exploit. In his first season, it wasn't uncommon to see the fullbacks dribble diagonally into these spaces, with the wingers threatening the space in behind. We still want our wingers threatening the space in behind. So if we go back into Football Manager, we know at least on this right hand side, we haven't quite figured out the role yet, but we are going to be using an attacking role, someone that's going to be getting in and behind. In the second season, Ange backline would often convert into a 3, slightly what I was talking about, a Ben Davies role possibly on the left hand side, but I didn't select Ben Davies because I will be selecting Emerson Royale on the right hand side. One fullback pushes forward while the other maintains their depth. This proved particularly useful when playing against teams that set up with a front 2, as the widest of the newly formed back 3 could step into midfield. Now in the Premier League, many teams do actually press with 2 man up front. So at right back, we need to make this back 3. We aren't going to be using our defensive midfielder and making him cut inside, actually, because we've actually lost I would say we've lost a central midfielder because Ange is using a fullback to move into midfield. So I would say we've lost a midfielder already, and we aren't going to be using then our holding midfielder to drop back into midfield. So what we are going to be doing, and we are going to be using our inverted role still, but he's just going to be on the defensive duty, and that maintains he's just going to be in the back line of the 3. Now I don't think Pedro Porro is actually suited for this role, and the only player at the moment I believe would be Emerson Royale. So already at the back line, you can see we're using a wing back on attack and then an inverted wing back on defend. We haven't lost the inverted wing back either. He's still going to come inside, but he's going to be more of a 6 than an 8 for Tottenham Hotspur. In his first season with Celtic, when play was building wide, the far side number 8 pushed forward to support the centre forward. David Turnbull was particularly attack minded in this role. When used as a number 8, he took every opportunity to push forward through the inside channel to offer added threat on goal. Fellow central midfielders Rodgers and McGregor tended to move wide to support the respective winger and fullback rather than join the striker as Turnbull did. But remember, we have made a slight tweak, so we actually might build up a lot down the right hand side, because the left hand side, the left back is going to push up a lot. The right back then has to be involved in the back 3, so we might have to build up on the right hand side a lot. And again, the number 8 will shift over, the number 6 will shift over, and here we have Madders, Kane and Son. Now this link up here can be a really effective link up for Tottenham Hotspur. These 3 here, there is many opportunities for rotations, positional rotations and overloads as well down the left hand side. But you could imagine Kane's favourite movement is to drop deep in midfield and link play. As he does, that could be a trigger for then Son to take his place effectively, and that allows Madders to slightly drift over to the left hand side. So we still keep our shape, but we've just rotated, well, player-wise, we've just rotated. Now Madders on the left-hand side, Son's up front, and Kane now is in midfield. To help me figure out the roles, then we will be looking at James Maddison playing on the left-hand side of the midfield, and I've got Bissouma. Now, I'm picking Bissouma in midfield. A few people say that Bissouma would be a 6. I don't necessarily agree with that. I would possibly use him as a box-to-box midfielder, and that allows him to come deep into the 6th position, but also attack head, where he's actually very good as well, progressing with the ball, and you don't necessarily want to lose that. So you could either use Højbjerg here, who I believe they're looking to get rid of. I saw that anyway. Or you can use Bentancur. So on the right hand side, we're actually going to leave the box-to-box midfielder, Bissouma, linking up play, and he's able to shift over to the right hand side and help the build up on the right hand side. On the left hand side though, we do want Maddison to get further forward and link up with the other players. At first we did use a Mazzala, but he roams from his position a lot, and what I found out often when we did lose the ball, we would have a very bad shape in transition. So I felt actually the safer option and the more effective option was to use a central midfielder on attack. And then with the player instructions, you can then add things like take more risks, dribble more, but also, and more importantly, either stay wide or move into the channels. For me though, I just use stay wider. So when we are building up, we can disrupt the opponent's shape and have James Maddison and Son over on the left hand side, but also the left back getting further forward and creating that overload. What I believe they can do at Tottenham Hotspur is actually have a bit more fluidity when it comes to who is actually in this shape. So what we've got here is Son on the left hand side, Kane in the middle, the right attacking midfielder, and you've got Madders here as well. That's your attacking 4. But in my opinion, this can be fluid and this can change, because Kane can drop in midfield, Son can go further forward, Madders can push up, and that allows the left back to get further forward. Or Maddison could be on the left hand side side. It could be Son attacking this left half space, and then you've got Kane here. The left back can be smart enough to play more narrow. He doesn't necessarily have to be an inverted wing back, but he can be more narrow. So you can see Ange already has some attacking variations, and the team would almost look like a 3-3-4 in position. So, or in possession. So you've got your 3, your 3, and your 4, which I don't necessarily think Ange will lose, but we have made a slight tweak in the system. Lastly, it is the out of possession, which again, there's going to be some slight tweaks. Celtic have defended more on the front foot than many of Ange's previous teams. Under him, they pressed aggressively, often high up the pitch after losing the ball. Their 4-3-3 structure is always ready to collapse inwards, counter press, and suffocate the opposition. A high back line has also helped them do this effectively. Now, he's actually has previously used a mid or a low block, especially at Australia, and that could be introduced. Now, going back into Football Manager, this isn't something that we're going to do. We are going to be using a high press, but you could imagine something at Celtic is a bit like this, where the trigger press is much more often. Actually, it could be trapping outside as well. Everything is narrow, the shape collapses, and everything is really intense with the standard the defensive line are much higher. But for me, our tweaks will be a standard defensive line, the trigger press also being knocked back by one to more often. So we are still high pressing, we're still actually quite energetic and intense with the get stuck in, but we've taken our foot off the gas a little bit, because now we are at Tottenham Hotspur, and actually you can step up more as well to kind of close the gaps that may appear in between your defense line and your midfield. So we might want our defense line to step up more and again try and be on that front foot. Celtic will counter press. They did counter press. AngeBall always counter presses, and we are also going to be using counter attacking movements. So what I've actually just did there is one way how I actually make recreations of tactics. I would read an analyst or whatever it is, a scout report, or I would just do one myself. I would watch the games myself, and I will analyze, and I will break it down into 3 different sections: in possession, out of possession, and then you have your transition. And by splitting it into 3s, you can also do that once you get into possession. So you can break the in possession into 3s from the build up, middle third, and then chance creation. How does a team build up? How does a team build up from the back line? Is it with a back 3? Is it with a back 4? Then in the middle phase, are they using overlaps, underlaps, and all of that stuff? And then in chance creation, how do they create their chances, and what patterns are teams using? So that is how I do it. But what I am going to do now, instead of holding you for too long, is look at the final finish. So this is the finish, the RDF Ange Spurs 4-3-3. In possession, we are going to be using a positive mentality. The attacking width is set to fairly wide. Pass into space. So we are going to attack space, but we are also playing out from the back. The passing directness is on shorter possession base, and the tempo is on slightly higher. And we are going to be working the ball into the box. In transition, we are going to counter press. When possession has been won, we are going to counter, and then we are going to roll the ball out. Now, we was actually started using a deep line playmaker, so that is why I've got roll it out to the DM, but you can actually change that if you wish to use this tactic. And lastly, out of possession, high press, more often trigger press, prevent short goalkeeper distribution, and step up more. Now, you've got other options that you could use that we spoke about a little earlier: trap outside and get stuck in. By default, I don't really like giving that as a tactic unless I really feel that is part of the tactic, but I don't like giving it as a default, because I don't want you guys then to be racking up yellow cards, red cards, giving away silly fouls, silly set pieces, and conceding silly goals. So as I do when I'm playing the games, as you can see at the bottom here, I am actually playing the games. So as I do, I like to take some clips from the game here. I've already got Kane, Son, and Maddison highlighted. This is the exact movement I was talking about a little earlier. So Benton Cole's got the ball, plays it into Maddison, Maddison into Kane. Kane drops deep. Now already Son is looking to attack that striker position, and Maddison will take Son's position by the end of the move. Son scores the goal. Kane is slightly in that deeper position where you could imagine Maddison being, and then Maddison is slightly being in that position that Son would be, just attacking in the box from the left hand side. And it was a lucky goal, quite fortunate to finish at the end, but the idea is it's there. Maddison plays it to Kane, Kane plays it into Son, and that isn't the only time we get to see that. This is one of my favorite goals. At the end, we actually used the third man to break the team down, but just notice how we created this heavy overload on the left hand side, which proved to be very, very effective. So here we've got it's effectively 3 versus 1, but we can't get the ball over there at the moment. As we work the ball over to the left-hand side, now we've got a man free. So as I actually pause it here, Romero's on the ball. Number 8 is free. I believe that's Lo Celso. And then we've got number 7 as well, Son, coming deep to collect the ball. So I play the clip. Number 8 is just free. Son comes inside though, plays it into Kane, who has dropped. And again, we've rotated position. Kane's gone into midfield. Son's still on the left-hand side, but now on number 8 is going to attack the space that Kane would, or the central striker would attack. But Kane plays it to Bissouma. Kane obviously can't play it into Lo Celso. The third man run, plays it to Bissouma. Bissouma can release Lo Celso, and then bah, beautiful goal. So again, this is another clip of an overload. We're breaking here, Bentancur, Kane dropping deep to get the ball. It's a lovely movement when you get it right as well. Plays it to the left back, Lo Celso now on the ball. It's a heavy overload on the left hand side, and Fulham just cannot deal with it. We move the ball quickly, play into Kulusevski, who's free on the right hand side. Bissouma, Maddison, beautiful goal. What I also like about the tactic as well is there's a bit of patience, as you can see here. Lo Celso, instead of just playing it to number 30 to number 38, then it's number 10, very quick and very forward, very direct. We can actually play the ball backwards and reset, get people in position. That was a risky ball by Son there into Bissouma. Bissouma travels, he's going to whip the ball into Kulu then. It's a lovely goal, and it's a lovely run by Bissouma as well. This goal is a build-up goal away to Brighton. Here's Bentancur, the new goalkeeper, to Romero to Eric Dyer, to Bissouma, Bentancur. So you can kind of see slightly at the moment, because we haven't gone into the mid-third or the creation phase yet, but you can kind of see the idea of having the 4 on the attack line, though we aren't quite pinning them back. You could say Son's pinning them back, but Son at the moment is the only player pinning them back. Here's Emerson Royal building out with the back 3. So Emerson Royal being on the defend here is very key. Plays it into Pedro Porro into Maddison. Here we break Son. It's just a lovely break, and he's just absolutely sold the goalkeeper there. And here is another goal of us breaking down Crystal Palace this time. Here's Eric Dyer into Pedro Porro, who's actually playing this role that I don't believe he can in real life. Here he is to Bissouma. Like I said earlier as well, Bissouma could actually drop into that holding role. Here's Kane spreading out wide to Son, goes into the box himself. It's a lovely big ass 1-2, but it's a lovely goal regardless. And this highlight here as well, it's kind of to show you that it's not just one time these things are happening. It's actually a lot of times. You're not always going to score 100% your goals like this. You will score some bubbly goals, some luckily goals, some fortunate goals. You will do in real life as well. But again, it's just an idea that you can see here playing out. Bissouma, well, I wanted my 2 midfielders to drop a little earlier, like I said, and we can also build up with a 3 here, with a 3 back line. Pedro Porro brings it into Kane dropping deep into Maddison out wide to Kulu. Now, we don't have enough players in the attacking line as I would. We might have moved the ball a bit too quick here. Nonetheless, we've actually moved the ball quick enough to open up space and exploit it in Football Manager. Someone in the comments asked why I didn't show the clips in the last video, and that's because, well, I did show clips, but it's throughout and it's glimpses, but that's mainly because I did actually dedicate a section of my video to matches. But if I'm totally honest, looking at my YouTube analytics, no one actually watches that bit. Maybe 1 or 2 people, but the majority of people will stop watching the video by then, and that can sometimes harm the video, so I've taken it out. Hopefully some of you guys stayed, so make sure you can let me know about the structure in the comment section. Now we are going to look at the results and how well it did with Tottenham Hotspur and Brisbane Roar. So with Tottenham, we came second, which is very impressive. We played 38, got 91 points, over 90 points with Tottenham Hotspur in the first season. English FA Cup, 4th round with Wolves, where we got knocked out to Wolves. And in the Carabao Cup, we got knocked out in the 3rd round by Everton. Manchester City and Liverpool dominated statistically, but when it comes to average possession, you can see that we had 59% of the ball, so that's equal to Chelsea and Arsenal. We done really well in possession. Most shots for, we come in 3rd. Fewest shots against, we come in 3rd. Most goals, we come in 3rd. So overall, we have done extremely well, and fewest conceded, we came in 2nd. So exclude Manchester City out of this league, we would have finished 1st, and we would have topped most, or some of these statistic charts, but we didn't, and we lost out to Manchester City. We did attempt the most passes per game. We had the most non-penalty expected goals per 90. That's very good. That is very good. Pressing though, we could have done a little bit better. Forest actually out pressing us, if that's a thing. They're slightly that's something that we could look at. But that is how Tottenham got on in the Premier League. Harry Kane scored 36 and 39. Son got 15 and Kulusevski got 11. Madison getting 10. The top assists are Harry Kane, so he's the top goal scorer and assist. That was replicated perfectly. Kulu with 9, Son with 8, Basuma with 8, Madison with 7, and Bentancur with 7. But Tottenham isn't the only team we tested this with. Brisbane Roar in Australia, they were predicted to finish actually 9th. So knowing that, it's amazing that we actually won the season, the regular season. I mean, I didn't know about this final series, and by then my head was gone. I didn't really care about the final series. We got knocked out of the Australia Cup quarter final by Melbourne Victory. But we did dominate the league. We had the most shots for, we scored the most goals, the fewest shots against, the most possession, and the best pass completion in the league. Now, when it comes to PPDA, the opposition passes per defensive action, we did finish top. Passes per game, we came in 2nd, non-penalty. I mean, if you look there, we dominated the league. But unfortunately, that wraps up today's video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, especially you Tottenham fans. Make sure you send some recommendations down in the comment section. I got to love and leave you guys. Shout out to my Patreons as well. Thank you for keep signing up, and thank you for the support. I'll see you guys soon. Stay safe. God bless people.